What if I told you that the not-so-innocent bureaucratic battle over electric cars could skyrocket the price of your favorite electronics, Spanish ham, and your wine? Not the wine! Come with me as we dive into the bizarre EU-China tariff war, how past European arrogance created this situation, and how predictably our current one is fumbling it. To top of all that, a newfound panic is making us backpedal in a way that puts the Olympic rowers in France to shame. It's a geopolitical cluster truck that will affect all of us, and trust me, by the end of this, you would wish your biggest threat to your livelihood would be a deep cave Balrog. Let's start with the main players. On one side, we have the European Union, the meticulous rulemaker, often seen as the overzealous hall monitor of global trade. That is one chic hall monitor. Sure, the EU loves its regulations, and equally, we like to dump on it. But hey, those rules are what keeps our cheeses safe and our toys let free. We never admit to that, but we do sure like that tap water is drinkable in every EU country. For those who never traveled outside EU borders, ask your friends and family what exactly they regretted on their first international trip, and one they carry around cold pills since. I mean, these bastards are smiling, but you are not when you're taking them. On the other side, we have China, a manufacturing powerhouse known for flooding the market with everything from smartphones to electric vehicles. But let's not forget how this colossus became what it is today. It started with plastic toys and matches and the term "made in China" that sent shivers down everyone's back as a staple of cheap and badly created goods. What was the last thing you bought that was not made in China? Europe sold China cars. Well, mostly the Germans did, as this video shows.
Let's go back to 1978. China had just emerged from the Cultural Revolution, and it was still quite poor. But it needed vehicles, so it turned here, to Germany.
Our cars motorized half of their nation. These same German companies had a host of Italian, Spanish, and French suppliers who all benefited from this. We forgave the atrocities the Chinese did to their own people and those of other small island nations like Hong Kong and Taiwan, and all the minorities involved. We did this all while the Chinese learned and invented things by themselves, until they started realizing they might not need us. Did we care? Nah! It was dirt cheap. We built more and more factories in China and moved more and more production there, all while happily challenging the traditionally strong position of the European economies in these sectors. So we wake up feeling a bit swamped by the tidal wave of Chinese EVs. Suddenly, the EU decides to flex its bureaucratic muscles. They start slapping tariffs up to 38% on those EVs, thinking they are the strict bouncer outside the next cool club saying no entry to every sleek, shiny Chinese car trying to get in. It's a classic case of you cannot pass! With a lot more paperwork and a lot less Gandalf. While we are on this high note, channel your inner Theoden as Gondor calls for aid. The beacons are lit. Subscribe so you don't miss out on the upcoming video about research and education in Europe. Are we the pinnacle of education? Find out. Why is the EU so worried about the Chinese electric vehicles? According to EU Trade Commissioner Valdis Dombrovskis, these Chinese cars are unfairly subsidized, giving them an edge that's tough for European manufacturers to compete with. We paint this picture that the real concern isn't just about subsidy. It's about the EU's skepticism towards the quality and safety of Chinese-made cars, despite their affordability. C'est un scandale! It is absolutely not about the fact that European car manufacturers manage to fall asleep at the wheel. Yeah, the puns. Not just in the race of electricity, but all over. Let me introduce my newest segment, Europe Doesn't Software! So when the once so dominant brand in China, Volkswagen, brought their electric vehicles to the Chinese market, they got slammed by local reviewers about how absolutely horseshit was their software. Like this.
Compared with BYD or SAIC, you have to swear at the ID3 system, otherwise you're too nice. This system, you've got to tell it off. But I wasn't surprised. That's what I expected. Never had any expectations for this VW system. So for a Volkswagen EV, this is just the normal that I expected.
Now, trying to scramble both for markets abroad and home, the industry is crying out for government to help like a 5-year-old who dropped its ice cream. No Volkswagen, bad Volkswagen. How many times I need to tell you to take care of your software? While France and Germany are battling China, there's a subplot of EU countries squabbling among themselves. France, staunch defender of European manufacturing, is pushing for these tariffs. Wait, I have this vague memory. It's coming back to me.
Insisted China's Belt and Road Initiative shouldn't be seen as a one-way strategy for Chinese growth and expansion.
Je suis donc venu dire à la Chine.
I've come here to tell China of my own accord for the Europe-China partnership to enter the 21st century.
So I guess Macron's Silk Belt Road Initiative didn't go as planned, which, incidentally, makes him now look like the good guy. Meanwhile, Germany, home to BMW, Mercedes, and Volkswagen, is less enthusiastic, fearing loss of access to the Chinese market. Macron said, "We must protect our industries," while the Germans are sweating stakeholder tears. "Can we not piss off the people buying our cars?" Germans and the French disagreeing. Even our internal divisions are as bland and predictable as our car software. And let's not forget the delicious irony of the whole situation. The EU is accusing China of unfair subsidies while simultaneously dishing out its own hefty subsidies to European manufacturers. For example, the EU has substantial funding programs for its green transition, including subsidies for solar panel production and electric vehicles. The kicker? We initially had solar panel production in Europe. For those book nerds out there, the photovoltaic effect was first observed 1839 by French physicist Edmond Becquerel, and the first patents for the use of solar power in machinery were also registered by the French. So, just how badly did we screw this up? According to Macron, we must not repeat in the electric car market the mistakes we made with photovoltaics, where we created a dependency on Chinese industry and made its manufacturers prosper. It's a classic case of do as I say, not as I do, and it's enough to make anyone watching from the sidelines roll their eyes so hard they risk a concussion. Except the French, their practice of eye rolling since birth makes them immune. Now, let's talk about retaliation. China didn't take this sitting down. They came back with their own tariffs targeting specific European exports like French cognac, Spanish ham, and German luxury cars. It's like they sat down and thought, how can we make this as personal as possible? I know, let's ruin their fancy dinners and weekend joyrides. It's a level of pettiness that could make even the most seasoned diplomats blush. Obviously, they think this is pure protectionism, and the whole thing is made of invented and artificially inflated accusation of subsidies. China's denial of the EU subsidy claims is like arguing over who didn't see the red light while the crash has already happened and both cars are in the repair shop. Before you get confused, yes, tariff means these products get more expensive in China. So why the heck does that make stuff here more expensive? Oh, my naive Irish sheep. The reason is simple. Corporations need to cooperate, and they will need to recoup their losses. Who do you think will pay for that? Us or the shareholders? I will let you linger on that thought while we both take in this majestic stereotypical sheep. The stakes in this trade dispute go beyond tariffs and subsidies. It's about geopolitical influence. The EU aims to be a strong, independent player on the world stage, standing up to both to the United States and China. Let's check how is the US doing. They are quadrupling their tariffs on Chinese goods. They can do this for a lot of reasons, but the short version is the following. Their industries never relied on that heavily on selling US wares in China. They have ample amount of national resources, and most importantly, they are investing in themselves. Now, even with the magical Norwegian oil, and with the recently found largest proven deposit of rare earth elements in the EU, we might have a chance. But without investment, we will have a longer episode in depth about research and development and how Europe is sucking. Greg, positive reinforcement, is excellent at sucking at investing in itself. The EU makes lofty speeches about partnership, but the reality? It's a tense standoff where both sides try to outmaneuver each other while insisting on cooperation. How do you exactly negotiate with a straight face when your wallet is in the other guy's pocket? I know how. Poorly. Officials yammer on about open strategic autonomy, which really means we want to protect our industries, but still cash in on that sweet, sweet Chinese market. How do you say having your cake and eating it too in 27 languages? This balancing act is producing policies so confusing they make Brexit look straightforward. At least without 5 different prime ministers. Got 'em! European consumers are bracing themselves for price hikes on everything from electronics to an uncertain amount of industries. while businesses are watching their supply chains collapse like a house of cards built on the Dutch northern coast. In conclusion, the EU-China tariff war is like playing an endless game of Monopoly where everyone's drunk, the rules change at every turn, and the people who make the decisions somehow never pay for it. EU's attempt to de-risk from China is as well thought out as crossing a river on a raft made out of paper. Internal EU conflicts? Oh, they're the gift that just keeps on giving. France is pushing for protectionism like your next-door Parisian, while Germany is shaking in its lederhosen over its precious car exports. The EU's green agenda clashing with its protectionist measures against Chinese EVs is the height of irony. They want to lead the global green transition, which the EU led with solar power production, then gave it away to China as well. It's like going to a climate summit with private jets. Hypocrisy is so blatant. Oh, wait. I am being told that's exactly what is happening. Make no mistake, this is not on them only. What did we think? Where are all those wares come from? We openly joked about sweatshops in India, Vietnam, and China. Suddenly, a region of 1.8 billion people decided to say, screw that, and now we're paying the price. Is it fair? No. But are we the masters of our own demise? Yes. Everyone was promised a golden goose, but now we're getting rubber chickens from wish.com? The incompetency of the past is something we can't change. But we can get our heads out of our collective asses and do better for the present and the future. Tariffs won't cut it. China is already building industries in Europe and advancing faster every day. The US is imposing tariffs on China while they are reinvesting heavily in themselves. We need to take the hint. If we screw up this time, there might not be a next time. We'll face economic disaster, global mockery, and the world will roll its eyes so hard, we might just actually feel the shift.